Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fanzone Debate. Oh my God, it's Jack Pinchuk, Alex Martinez. It's an exciting one. Can't believe I'm saying exciting and Jack Pinchuk in the same line, but it's true. This actually is going to be fairly exciting because I think we've got two people, maybe a little underdog style in the Fanzone debate. I think Jack going up against in his last match, he went up against Will. That was kind of like a who's going to win. We don't really know. Both had kind of weaker openings, but Jack pulled it out, surprised himself. And then Alex as well going up against Chadwick in his debut. Chadwick had a strong debut, but went up against Bill. Alex had a hit or miss debut, but played pretty well overall and had a great second showing. So I think these players have continued to improve, and now they're here for their third match against each other. Also, I can tell you factually, based on stuff I've heard behind the scenes, that these two hate each other, absolutely despise each other. I get it from Alex's view. Brian, thoughts on Jack versus Alex?
Well, I don't have as strong feelings about Jack as you do, clearly. No, I've been around for some debates for both these guys. I think they're both good, and like you said, they've definitely been improving. I think both of them kind of have the right attitude about learning from their losses, things like that. They've done very well. But I'm actually most interested today in. I really like some of the questions today, so I'm really curious to see how they debate some of these.
Mark, your thoughts?
I'm a little bit of the opposite because I did not see either of their debates. I'm pretty fresh off of this. I'm just excited to hear what they're going to bring here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it, starting with the promos. We'll talk to Alex first. Alex, welcome. You're going up against Jack. Like I said, I thought you had a really good improvement and good showing up against Chadwick. But now you got to face Jack, who you've hosted shows with, you've played on teams with, and now you must layeth the smacketh down, as they say. Your thoughts?
Jack's a friend, and you those are the people that you want to mess up the most, because those are the people you see every couple of days, and I can't let him have like a win over me. They're like, well, when I did beat you in that debate, we can't. We're just gonna squash this now. I'm gonna go a point up on Jack. I need Jack's focus for other things.
That's fair. All right. Well, we will bring in Mr. Pinchuk. Jack, I give you a hard time, but that's only because you suck. You're going up against Alex. Your thoughts on going up against your friend, now potential enemy?
Look, I said in the in my last debate, I love Alex to death. He's one of my best friends in this league. I don't want to debate him. And then I went to give him some debate advice because he's my friend when he was up against Chadwick, and I was hoping that advice would kind of tank him a little bit, just enough where I wouldn't have to debate him, but it didn't work. I don't know. He won that, and now we're here. And oh boy, is my mental health going down the drain.
Oh my God. Okay, well, don't do that. All right, this is how it's gonna work. There are 4 prep questions based off of 4 categories that the players drafted. We are going to hear them debate those questions tonight before our very souls. Then at the end, they are going to get 1 minute opening, a 5-minute freeform, and a 1-minute closing at the end of the debate. Brian, Mark, and I will write on our boards who we thought won the point. 2 out of 3 votes wins you a point, and the first person to 3 points wins the match. So, gentlemen, any questions as we get into the first debate? Awesome. Let's do it. Okay, dokay. We're going to kick it off with your first question, which was drafted by Jack in the category of horror icons. So the question is, what character in a horror icons film most deserved to die? this one was suggested, and I went, that's kind of morbid. But then I thought, who gives a fuck? This is going to be fun. Let's start with Jack. Jack, you get 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
The Horror Icons films have no shortage of horrendously deplorable characters that absolutely deserve what they got. Dr. Cruz in Friday 7 exploits a teenager's mental health for his own personal gain and gets the teenager's mother killed by Jason. Gary Scott is a coroner in Rob Zombie's Halloween films that wants to have intercourse with corpses and is absolutely disgusting in every sense of the word. But it's Cochran from Halloween 3 that stands head and shoulders above the rest as the most vile and all-around evil character that most deserve to die. For those of you who don't know him, he owns a company that makes Halloween masks for children. Nothing too evil there, right? Wrong. Because every single one of these masks is designed to murder every child wearing them, which, if what the movie shows is anything to go by, is hundreds of thousands, if not more children, or just any number that owns a television, as some huge sacrifice. And while he doesn't totally succeed, he didn't fail either. This man is beyond all evil, and that fucking Silver Shamrock's jingle doesn't do him any favors either.
You got that right, brother. All right, we're going to move over to Alex. Alex, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Let's talk about the death penalty. The death penalty is what we would give our absolute worst fuckheads, the worst and most aggressive murderers. It is actually fairly difficult to be such a terrible person. Only 17 people this year have been executed across the whole of the United States where the category of horror icons takes place. Now, according to the law of the United States, there is a list of 16 aggravating factors that, depending on where you live, could make you eligible for a government-funded unaliving. It could be argued, if properly tried and convicted for all of his crimes across just the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger meets an absolutely horrifying 6 of the 16 criteria. Who most deserves to die? Well, he did, and he didn't learn his lesson. It's Freddy Krueger.
Time. Took me a while to see where that was going, but great job, guys. Great openings. 5 minute freeform. One of you starts talking. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when that time comes up, and I will come in to give you the 10-second warning when that comes. And if I feel like one of you is talking too much, I'll throw up the let's move on. So again, 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
I'm just going to be honest with you right now. The question is, most deserve to die. Yes, Freddy Krueger in the remake is a horrifying character. He deserved what he got. He's responsible for the abuse of and murder of a couple dozen children. That's horrible. Yes, I'm not going to deny that. However, the murders did not start until after his death by burning alive. Whereas Cochran, he seeks to murder every child that owns a television or has access to a television, which is hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Whereas, as part of some huge sacrifice, this guy, like Freddy Krueger, horrifying evil person, yes, a drop in the bucket in comparison to Cochran's actions.
I'm glad you said every single one of those words. The one problem that you have there, Jack, is that Cochran doesn't actually kill that many people. We don't know how many people he actually kills. On screen, we don't actually know. The question we got was what character in a horror icons film most deserves to die. And in the film that you are talking about, the film that you are arguing, the character that you are arguing does not kill that many people. Now, I will say this. In terms of your film, there is actually a character that I think kills as many, if not more, characters in the film. And it's the lead. Dr. Chambliss actually kills more characters over the course of the events of the film than
does he kill
Cochran.
People or does he kill the machines that were made by Cochran?
I said he kills characters. I did not say people. If you note, you know who did actually kill a whole small town, like generations worth of kids, is Fred Krueger. And this is neither here nor there. I don't necessarily believe in mob justice, but Freddy Krueger actually did die for his crimes before he started murdering people. And that is, I think, the most important thing that I'm going to say in the whole of the 5 minutes is that he had not killed anyone yet, and he had already died.
Yes, he had he died, and that his death is what opened the door for him to brutally murder all of these children. Whereas
those parents made a mistake. They certainly did do that. I will also say people are killed on the orders of Cochrane more than Cochrane actually kills people himself. Cochrane himself is actually a largely ineffective killer by horror icon standards.
I'm not trying to say who's the most efficient killer in the horror icons. I'm not trying to say that at all.
Right, but we don't put people to death.
He's still responsible. He's still responsible for those murders, of the murder of
we do not put people over to death over the crimes that they have plotted, the crimes that they have, whatever. That's not how the law works. If we tried both of them, they would both end up. My argument is framed on the concept of the death penalty. Who most deserves to die? And the problem is that we don't really kill people that often for the crimes that Cochrane has committed, but we do kill people for the crimes that Freddy has committed, more so than over, and they do it in the actual film itself.
Yes, they corner him in a building and they throw Molotov cocktails through the windows and light him on fire, and he burns to death after he's abused a couple dozen children, and that's horrible. I'm not trying to deny that. This isn't about who is the most efficient killer. It's not about any of that. It's who most deserves to die. Whereas he didn't kill any children prior to his death. Cochrane murdered, or if not actually succeeds, he plans to murder millions of children as part of some huge sacrifice. It's quantity, my friend. There's which
we never see go off.
And in fact, who deserves to die?
Stonehenge kills Cochrane before it kills the same amount of kids as it does Cochrane's. We only see him that plan go off, kill exactly one kid and exactly one Cochrane. The kid for Cochrane rate is exactly equal.
Listen, at the end of the movie, Dr. Chambliss, or whatever the hell his name is, he sucks. Dr. Chambliss, he is trying to get the commercial off the air. He succeeds with 2 of them, but then the movie ends before the last one can. We don't know if he actually succeeded. Therefore, it's entirely plausible that millions of children now have disintegrated heads with bugs crawling out of them.
It's entirely possible that absolutely no kids are, because we never see it.
Time. Okay, Alex, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute to close your argument when you start talking.
Here's the idea. Freddy was actually killed by mob justice. That's the question, right? Who most deserved death? He literally deserved to die, and he hadn't yet started to murder. Since then, he murdered an entire classroom's worth of kids from Ohio, later an adult, and those are confirmed kills. Cochrane, in comparison, is an amateur, having only personally killed 1 kid and a couple adults and ordered the deaths of a couple more, a relatively low body count in the movie. The lead actually could be argued to be more unhinged and dangerous, but it's also a low body count for the category as a whole, the category of horror icons as a whole. This should be the easiest decision of the jury's entire evening. Let's do it, gang. Let's give the Nightmare reboot Freddy the metaphorical chair.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Jack, who has 1 minute to close when he starts talking.
The question has to be asked: who most deserved to die between these two? I'm not here to defend 2010's Freddy. At the end of the day, Freddy was responsible for the abuse and murder of a couple of dozen children. That's horrible. Yes, I'm not trying to deny that. It's a drop in the bucket considering what Cochrane saw when Cochrane sought to murder hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children in the country. And he doesn't entirely fail. We don't see the last one go off the air. It's entirely plausible that there are millions of children with bugs crawling out of their heads. And plus, his death lets him off way too easy. He gets zapped by Stonehenge, turns into paper, and kind of just vanishes out of the movie. Freddy burns to death, and it's only then that gives him the outlet to be able to murder a couple dozen children. Yes, he died, but his death just opened the door for him to inflict more pain and suffering on the victims and their families. Once again, the question is who most deserved to die? It's Connell Cochran. No questions asked.
Time. All right. Oh boy.
Love how I was doing my closing and my brother showed up just outside. So I don't know how much of that he heard.
All right, judges ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I went with Alex. I thought Jack had a really interesting starting point on this one. I thought that his whole opening about Cochran's plans and everything, interesting, had me hooked. But I thought Alex kind of walked away with this one in the way of, and actually I should say this. During the main fight, I couldn't really tell where Alex was totally going the whole time. I thought his closing kind of summed it up really well, where he was like, even before the death of Freddy, he had committed so many horrible crimes of abuse against children and whatnot, and deserved to die for that. But then even on top of that, after his death, jumped on the bandwagon even more. That really worked for me in his closing, and Jack's trying to shrug that up of being like, okay, he abused some kids, then he murdered some people, but like it didn't work for me. But again, I think that Jack picked an out of left field kind of choice, and I thought he did the most he could with it. But didn't work for me. Brian.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by either argument. Honestly, even the picks I thought were a little weak. Cause like when I thought picking Freddy Krueger, like picking any of the main horror icons, was kind of a cop out when I first saw the answers. Just because I'm like, when he wrote the question, I'm thinking about like the victims, like some of these people like really deserved their death. But hearing the arguments kind of turned me around. I felt a lot like you, Tim, in that Jack started out real well. He was telling us, he's trying to kill all these kids. This is what's happening. But once Alex started poking holes in that, saying like, well, this is, mine are confirmed on-screen kills and yours are, maybe it happened. And even Jack confirmed that at the end. He's like, it's entirely plausible that millions more kids died, but we don't know that happened. And so that kind of sold it for me. So Alex.
All right, Mark, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Clean sweep. It's really hard when somebody picks a choice and they force their opponent to have to talk down certain things. Like it just, what was Jack's argument going to be here? Okay, like he has no choice but to try to talk down like the crimes of Freddy Krueger. Like it's impossible. Like Alex got the point.
All right. Well, that means Alex is up 1-0. We're going to move on to the next question, which was drafted by Alex in the category of directors. And the question is, what world in a Tim Burton film would you most want to visit? So we're going to start with Alex. Alex, you get 1 minute to open when you start talking.
Tim Burton. He started out a master of scenery, mood, and quirk, and now he's the patron saint of Hot Topic. Over his career, he's explored many different worlds like Earth, but there's a Martian attack happening, Earth with Batman, no one's favorite Planet of the Apes movie, which is Earth, and a lot of Earths with people in British accents. It's a wide spectrum, is what I'm saying. Now, while it sounds like it would be very exciting to visit any of the Burtonverse movies, you'd end up dead in most of them. They are not pleasant vacations when you think about it. Apes, beat to death by apes or slavery or whatever. Gotham, blown up by penguins. Alice in Wonderland, off with its head. Wouldn't it be better, safer even, to go hang out in the New Orleans of the Burtonverse, Collinsport, Maine, from Dark Shadows?
I don't know, would it? Okay, we're going to move over to Jack. Jack, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Say what you will about the man's movies, but if there's one thing Tim Burton knows how to do, it's create a unique and immersive world. If I only had the chance to visit one, however, it would absolutely be the Chocolate Factory from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. There's a full-blown candy world within the walls of this factory. In the movie, we see a chocolate river, characters on a dragon boat ride, characters getting behind-the-scenes looks at the candy, how it's made, and able to try new candies before the rest of the general public. And the TV room? Hell yeah. And the only thing I have to do is not be a total shithead like the children in the movie. Count me in. And there's hundreds more rooms. Yeah, I'm sorry, but Dark Shadows is a terrible choice. Like I don't get it. I like vampires as much as the next guy, but if I don't want to visit, I don't want to visit with one of them because chances are I'm their next meal, and I ain't leaving there alive. And even if we accept that I'm not going to be a juice box for this vampire. This world is just different shades of gray. It's so bland and boring. Chocolate Factory is vibrant and beautiful.
And beautiful. Strike it from the record. Don't like Jack referring to himself as a juice box, but here we are. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
So I need to set some ground rules here. Are we going in as contestants to Chocolate Factory?
It's just a visit to the factory. That's the question: is what world would you most like to visit? I picked the Chocolate Factory.
Okay, here's the problem. You and I have the same character defect, and that is that we're both Augustus Gloop. There is a reason that we are the second Breakfast Club. We'd get to the big, room and hear everything is edible, and within minutes we are getting escorted out by Oompa Loompas. We would make it exactly that far. You would hear everything is edibles, and you would try to put yourself into a coma. I would hear everything is edibles, or I would hear everything is edible, and then an hour later my foot would be getting chopped off because of the diabetes I'd spawned. It's a bad idea to go to the Chocolate Factory. Hang on, because this is going somewhere. I know it sounds cool to go visit a chocolate factory. 4 million people go to 4 million people a year go to Hershey, Pennsylvania to go visit their chocolate factory. 20 million people go to New Orleans because, and a huge part of that is because it's kind of spooky and it would be fun to go there. Collinsport, Maine, over the course of Dark Shadows, has confirmed vampire, werewolves, witches, ghosts, a house party with rock and roll, and the house is a mansion. Fair. It's just a better alternative, a safer alternative.
I'm sorry, you just said vampires, witches, werewolves, ghosts. Those all sound like they could kill me.
They all sound like they could kill you.
Party, here's the thing, Alex, let me talk.
Hang on. I'll let you go. But the problem is that
no, Jack, you talked for like a minute and a half. Jack's got it.
Sorry.
That house party, I saw that movie. That house party is just gray. Even the colors in that movie are so very muted. It is just so drab and boring to look at. Like in the Chocolate Factory, assuming we just stay in that one room, everything is edible in that room. That's cool. That's awesome. I would use my brain, use common sense to not just go in the chocolate river, and get sucked up in the machine. Look, I don't just turn off my brain when I see candy. I don't know about you, that's just me. But in the factory, there are hundreds more rooms to explore. The glass elevator has buttons for rooms called Mechanical Clouds, Orange Egg Flip, T-Bone Steak Jellies, Root Beer Goggles, and Projection Room. Even if all of those don't sound good necessarily or tasty, they at least sound interesting. There's nothing interesting about the Dark Shadows world. It boggles my mind the fact that you would pick that.
I don't understand. First of all, the vampires the witches and all of them, they're feuding with each other. You're in almost no danger whatsoever. You're in no danger, except the danger would be traveling there. What's interesting about being in a place where like everyone is relatively safe, having a good time, and you could be drinking and partying with and mansions? I don't understand that as a concept. People come to Nashville to do all of the things that I just said, and Nashville isn't even particularly haunted, although I would like it a lot more if it would be. You are proposing that we go visit a place that is explicitly too large. The chocolate factory is enormous. We couldn't possibly see all of it at once. Why are we going on my vacation to visit Johnny Depp's teeth? I don't understand.
Look, you say that we're not going to be in any danger at the place. I don't know that. I don't know that these werewolves and vampires and ghosts are all feuding with each other. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder the whole time. I'm not going to be able to enjoy myself. Whereas at the chocolate factory, I'm going to have entire rooms full of candy. I'm going to get to see behind the scenes looks at how the candy is made. I'm going to be able to try different candies that are being tested before the general public.
Are you that interested in the makings of candy? Is that what you do on your vacations?
Honestly, yeah. If I was at a chocolate factory, I'd be very interested in how that candy is made, and it would give me some insight. Don't eat the cotton candy; it's just straight up sheep wool that, like you see in the movie. There are different things that you can be like, okay, great. I know how this is made. I'm never having that again. But the rest, this is so fucking cool. Like this,
all I'm getting
is so insane and diverse and so
all I'm getting
beautiful, but there's just nothing going on in Dark Shadows universe I'm interested in.
All I'm getting is that it would be incredibly lame to go on vacation with you because you want to stand in long lines to see different large rooms.
Time. All right, Jack, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
It's like I said before. The chocolate factory is so varied, so beautiful and vibrant. There's lots of there's colors abundant in that place. It's interesting to look at. There's actually stuff to see, stuff to try. Dark Shadows universe, like in Maine, whatever that town is called, I'm going to be so concerned the whole time. I'm going to be looking over my shoulder, making sure that there's no vampire or witch right there. I'm going to be very uncomfortable the whole time. I want to enjoy myself. I want to be able to just go to a place and explore it. Like, it would be cool. The room where everything is edible, that would be so cool to have everything be chocolate and be able to be, the grass is edible for goodness sakes. Like, there's so much in the chocolate factory that we don't see in the movie, but that is hinted at. That would be so cool to explore. Whereas in Dark Shadows universe, everything is just different shades of gray. It's so muted, so boring, so dreary to look at. I have zero interest in exploring it.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Alex. Alex, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Jack and I as a team are known as the Second Breakfast Club, and a huge part of that is our love for perpetual eating. And yet, these certified snack boy is arguing against going to Fantasy Hershey. And why? Because I'm deathly afraid of squirrels? No, probably not. It's because there is a genuinely safer, more adult, and cooler alternative. I'm not standing in line to see various large rooms on my vacation. Let's go to where fun is. Let's go to where vampires are, where werewolves are, where witches are. They're not fighting us. They're just fucking with each other. And even if they were, is the worst thing that's going to happen to you on your vacation running into Ava Green and getting glamored? That's fine with me. Let's go to a vampire rock and roll house party in a mansion. That's a vacation. You really just want to go around to a suddenly open chocolate factory? How are we getting in? Are we breaking in? Here's a brand new sentence. It's never been said in the whole of the world. Let's go to Dark Shadows. Let's go to Collinsport, Maine.
Time. All right. We're going to bring in the judges.
I apologize. I did talk too much in that first bit. Sorry, Jack.
That's okay. You're not the first. You won't be the last.
You're good.
Although when he tried to interrupt again, I did the same thing. Tim's like, no.
Mark, you get to kick this one off.
Alrighty. Yeah. decided to go with Jack on this one. I feel like Jack just kind of said the right things for me on this one. You know, pointed like I think kind of the worlds he talked about. I think they're just the Chocolate Factory one just sounds more interesting. And if you just kind of go there for like a day, it sounds somewhat cool. Kind of brought up the right thing of, you know, all I just need to do is not be a total asshole there. You know, I'll be okay. You know, and he brought up also the right thing about the Dark Shadows universe, especially when we're talking like all these things are just in this town. Like, you know, that's just kind of enough for me with for Jack.
Okay, I'll go next. Part of the job, I think, of the contestant, at least this is how I saw it when I was a player, was I'm not only supposed to convince the judges that like my pick is the correct one, but I'm also supposed to take my opponent's pick and tell the judges why it's shit. Jack did a very good job of telling me why Alex's was shit. I don't think I heard a single thing from Alex that sounded to me positive on why the Dark Shadows thing, this says Jack Attack, as something that's positive. Like, I don't think I heard a single thing from Alex that was like convinced me that his was better than Jack's, which is weirdly strange. He was like, it's like New Orleans, and I'm like, great, I don't want to go there either. So it's just that's not true. I like New Orleans, but it was a weird pick. I could see the potential. I just don't think it was capitalized at all. And while I think these are two weak picks in the abundance of choices, I think that I agree with Mark. Jack did a decent job of explaining the Chocolate Factory thing. And honestly, I thought the one thing I will say is Alex, it did make me laugh. His whole like Jack being a snack boy, because then I just pictured Jack just like Augustus glooping himself in the chocolate river, and that made me laugh. But I went with Jack. Pretty clean for me on that one. Brian, do you agree?
Yep, Jack's turn for a clean sweep. I think that I agree with you guys mostly. I mean, I don't like Charlie and Chocolate Factory. I don't really like the look of the world. I don't think I'd want to be there, and it's candy factory. That's just not my kind of thing. But I just think he did a better job of selling his, because while Alex did like attack his quite a bit, like you said, Tim, I wasn't hearing a lot of support for Alex's. He wasn't selling me on his, and even in his opening statement where he spoiled Planet of the Apes, by the way. Oh my gosh, I never knew it was Earth.
Yeah. Son of a
but even his openings, I had this giant buildup for like 58 seconds, and at the end, oh yeah, I'm doing Dark Shadows. I'm like, okay, why? You know.
I saw you go like this when he said the Planet of the Apes thing. I was like, does Brian secretly love Tim Burton's Planet?
No, I was just doing that for your entertainment.
Yeah, no, that made me okay. So now I love it. Okay, so we're tied up 1-1. Both won each other's questions. Love it. We are going to move on to the third question. It is in the category, a category drafted by Jack in the category of Oscars, and your question is, what was the biggest snub of the Best Picture nominees in the 1960s? So we are going to start with Jack. Jack, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
The 60s were an interesting time in the history of the Oscars. The era of studio control and the Hays Code was coming to an end, and the directors were given more control over their films. The Western genre had one foot in the grave, and the era of the musical was in full swing. And The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is inarguably one of, if not the best musicals of that decade. Nominated for 5 Oscars, including Best Original Screenplay, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg had the makings of a Best Picture nominee. A heart-wrenching romance between two people who fall in love with each other that is ultimately doomed because of circumstances outside of their control, a la West Side Story. A host of glorious costumes and sets, and a gorgeous score, and the always stellar Catherine Deneuve. With all that in mind, it's shocking The Umbrellas of Cherbourg didn't receive a nomination for Best Picture, especially given the fact that it came out in America during what is easily the worst year for movies of that decade, 1965. And I will yield the rest.
Okay. Yielding about 6 seconds. We will move over to Alex. Alex, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a masterpiece. It is a 3-hour epic across the West through battlefields, graveyards, and deserted towns. It follows cool, calm, twisted, complicated characters that have complicated relationships with each other. A great big web of backstabbing, being taken prisoner, and planning to backstab the guy who just backstabbed you, all for the grand prize of a big pot full of money. And as if that wasn't enough, it's scored to perfection, brilliantly shot, and expertly performed. This movie has leaked into the DNA of filmmaking and media so thoroughly that Ennio Morricone's score is still licensed to sell beer in Modelo commercials. The tight zoom-ins at the final duel, building the tension before the bullets start flying, are still used today, and the characters have passed into archetypes. And for all that, no Best Picture nominations, or indeed no nominations anywhere.
Time. Okay. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
You're right. No nominations anywhere. Mine had 5 nominations. It was actually, it would have been considered a snub. Yours was not. It wasn't a blip on the radar. I just want to say a couple of things here. My movie, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, is one of the most influential musicals or just films in general. It inspired movies like La La Land and Barbie, as well as stage shows that would later be adapted to films such as Les Miserables in the style that it was made. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is a crisp 93-minute romance that conveys so much in so little time. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a bloated 3-hour Western epic that has a lot of wasted time. Sure, the score is pretty. I don't want to watch a guy run around a graveyard for 5 straight minutes with nothing going on to keep me invested but the score. And
Can I read you something? Can I read you something, Jack? Quote, one of the best movies that definitely kicked off my love for Westerns. Continuing, Clint Eastwood is great. Eli Wallach is great. Lee Van Cleef is so good in this movie. End quote. Regarding the final standoff, quote, perfect scene. Quote, Ennio Morricone's score, perfect. These are the words of Jack Pinchuk. You recently gave The Umbrellas, you recently gave The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly a 4.5 stars, 4.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. The same amount that you gave The Umbrellas of Cherbourg when we reviewed it on View 52.
Sure.
The fact of the matter is, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, historically, that is the highest that it would have gotten. It would be an incredible outlier, historically. No French film that is entirely in French has ever been nominated at Best Picture, let alone won. The fact that Umbrellas of Cherbourg got 5 nominations is actually statistically incredible. And it is equally incredible that with all of the things that we've said that you and I can both agree on, all these fantastic performances, the cinematography, the score, all the things that we agree on, that it got absolutely nothing. That is what a snub is.
Sure. Look, you can talk about what I said on View 52. I still think that that The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a great movie. It is a fantastic movie. But if we're talking snub, there has to be some expectation for it to be nominated. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, no expectation for it to be nominated. It didn't make a dent in any of the awards leading up to the Oscars of that year in 1967, which we'll get back to because that's a big part of this. Whereas my movie, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, nominated for 5 Oscars, including original screenplay, which is incredible. And while we're at it with the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, the sets in that movie aren't anything special, whereas the sets in The Umbrellas of Cherbourg are. In Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, you've got your typical Wild West town, your typical desert graveyard, your typical Union/Confederate Army camps. Every set in The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is unique. Every set in The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is vibrant and beautiful. It's actually interesting to look at. Whereas The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is drab. It's ugly. There's nothing. Like, yes, on a technical level, that movie is very well done, and the performances are solid. That movie is topped on a technical level by The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and on the performances by Catherine Deneuve.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly takes place in the middle of the apocalypse that is a war. The reason that it's drab is because all the towns have been shelled out. The reason that it's drab is because they are going through desert. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg better be something interesting to look at, because, to be perfectly honest, the story isn't all there. The story is fine. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is a statistical outlier of the 10 films that have been nominated, foreign language films that have been nominated for Best Picture, it would have been wildly out of character in 1964 to nominate this movie for the top prize. More Westerns have actually, at the time, populated the conversations of the era and have still historically, from a historical perspective, Westerns are statistically more likely to be nominated and infinitely more likely to win. And specifically during the time of the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. I'm very happy for The Umbrellas of Cherbourg that it got all of the attention that it got. These two movies are actually of a piece, considering they are both parts of a series of film. They're very comparable in that way. But your movie got recognition. My movie got absolutely none. Only since the time that it was released did it actually get the recognition that it rightfully deserves as one of the best movies of all time.
I'll save the rest for my closing.
Okay. All right. We are going to start with Alex on this one. Alex, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
People of the jury, you've heard my words saying how great The Good and the Bad and the Ugly is. You've heard my opponent's words saying how great The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is. We've told you that it is there on every level of filmmaking. It is one of the great works of the genre and one of the great works of the era. And yet, for all of its troubles, it holds absolutely nothing. Can we finally say that it's a great story? Can we finally say that the performances are there? Can we admit that it deserved at least a nomination? Can we say that it is more well known for what it is today than the things that it later inspired, like La La Land and Barbie? Can we at least say that it was its own thing? Can we right the wrong, at least here today, that it is, and say that it is the biggest Best Picture snub of the 1960s? I personally think it's academic. Historically, there is more precedent than not. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, much better than Cherbourg.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Jack. Jack, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Look, I'm not going to say that The Good and the Bad and the Ugly is a bad movie. It's not. But to call it a snub for that time is incorrect. To be considered a snub, you have to have had expectation to be nominated. Like Denis Villeneuve being snubbed in Best Director for Dune, that's a snub. He was expected to run away with that nomination. Whereas this wasn't a blip on the radar. There was nothing there. Let's look at 1965, the year that this was nominated. In 1967, actually, year that Good, the Bad, and the Ugly would have been eligible. In the Heat of the Night, Bonnie and Clyde, The Graduate, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, an all-star lineup for Best Picture there. But with 1965, you have Darling, a British romantic drama about a young woman in a love triangle with two older men. Ew. Dr. Zhivago, a 3-hour-long war drama directed by David Lean. We saw that a few years before with Lawrence of Arabia, and it was rewarded. A Ship of Fools, a movie that doesn't really have a plot, and it's just 11 people hanging out on a boat. Thousand Clowns, a comedy drama about a dude trying to get custody of his nephew.
Time. Okay. Gonna bring in El Judgerinos. I just got a text from the macaw. Can you come up as soon as you're done? I need you. Sounds like Ellie's causing some havoc. Okay, we're gonna start with Brian on this one.
Again, didn't love either of the picks. But I thought both of them kind of supported their choice as well. I honestly think though, and between the two of them, I would much rather. I prefer Good, Bad, and Ugly. I think it's the better movie of the two. But judging by the debate, I did go for Jack. I thought he was strongest in his closing when he talked about, to be considered a snub, the expectation had to be there that he thought something would be nominated. And he also explained how they had a much stronger feel that actually did get nominated. So it wasn't such a snub to leave that one out.
Okay, Mark.
Okay. Let me decide this one. I went with Alex. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Alex made the right argument for this one. Kind of pointed out that Jax like kind of was weirdly brought like kind of like a decent amount of recognition, even though like his type of film doesn't really get that type of recognition. And I think Alex just kind of pointed out the right things, that it kind of shows how sometimes the Oscars are wrong, how Good and Bad, the Ugly is just not like recognized in anything for that year. So just went with Alex for that.
Great. The first split decision of the night, everybody. I went with Alex. I think that I agree with Mark on the most part. I did think that Jack's closing was strong, so I agree with Brian on that one. He had mentioned mid-main debate about how the rest of the best picture nominees his year were like this like big piece of the puzzle, and he left it for like the last 20 seconds of his whole thing, which I thought was weird. So it was a point that worked for him, but not one that like was super well resonated, because I didn't get to hear a lot from Alex on the other side of it. But I do think that Alex, like Mark said, the point about just like the Oscars sometimes get it wrong, and the fact that your movie was recognized as much as it was in the 60s was still like a big thing. And The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is recognized now as like this huge thing, but just the fact that it was not at all then, totally snubbed. So yeah, I went with Alex, so he wins the point. Alex is up 2-1, which means Jack does need to hit this last prep question in order to send it to the bonus round. So the question was drafted by Alex in the category of James Bond. And the question is, which James Bond villain had the craziest plan? So Alex, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
James Bond villains. There's certainly a bunch. And their plans usually range from, how does that work? To, sure. At their best, they make sense in a tech bro kind of way, or something involving the word nuclear kind of way. That's at their best. At their worst, they're fundamentally incorrect. Or incomplete. And when I say they, I do mean plurals. Scaramanga has a few plans in the air. There's his plan to get James Bond on an island to 1v1 me, bro. That is manned, the island that is manned by someone who would directly profit from Scaramanga's death. But more critically, the sun cannon that he's building, which he does not understand or build himself, or does not know with what he is going to do.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Brian, my lord. Brian, you want to come in and give an opening argument? I saw.
All right, here we go.
Here we go, Brian. Okay, no, we're going to move over to Jack. Jack, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
The James Bond villains have no shortage. The James Bond villains, have no shortage of insane villains with equally, if not more, insane plans. Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Inspector, is revealed to have orchestrated everything we see Bond go through in the Craig era up to that point because Papa loved Jimmy Moore. Hugo Draxon, Moonraker, wants to destroy Earth while him and his quote-unquote master race chill in space and return to Earth to reproduce with their quote-unquote superior genetics. But at least Hugo Drax thought to go to space while the world was ending. Karl Stromberg did not. His plan? Nuke the superpowers of the world and let them finish the job, because they'll blame each other. And once the dust settles, rebuild civilization in an underwater city. And where will Stromberg be while the world is in nuclear fallout? In his underwater city, in the ocean, on Earth, during nuclear fallout. Do you see the problem here? Yeah, me too.
Time. Okay. We're gonna do the 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
So the problem with living underwater is nothing. Stromberg kind of hasn't figured it out. His plan is ready to go. Like, it sounds silly, sure, but fundamentally, it'll probably work. Like, if he has the science to back it up, let him live his life. If he if he gets the superpowers to nuke each other, yeah, that's probably what would happen. If he just nuked one of them, the other one would retaliate, and then I agree. That's probably what would happen. He sounds like he's got it figured out. You know who doesn't have it figured out is Scaramanga. He has no idea what he's doing. He has no idea what his plans are for the Sun Cannon. He's flirted with using it himself, and he's flirted with selling it to different world leaders.
Yeah,
his plan is incomplete.
I'm not going to lie to you. Scaramanga, his plan is honestly one of the more straightforward plans for a Bond villain. Kill a scientist because employer paid him to, and return the property that was stolen. It's only after his employer rants to Bond about his regrets of making Scaramanga a partner in his company that Scaramanga actually creates a plan of his own. Kill his boss, steal the Solex agitator, and sell it to the highest bidder. Or not. He might want to use himself. He hasn't figured that part out. That's a very minor detail. You want to actually use it yourself or sell it. He could make millions either way. But the only other objective he has is to kill Bond, who he sees as the only person that could equal him in killing.
Yep.
Both are incredibly straightforward plans. And with the fact that Knick-Knack is the one who controls the one small part of the island, the house on the island,
yep.
and he only has one bullet, that's out of hubris, not insanity for his plan. Like he truly thinks, yeah, I can kill James Bond with a single bullet because I'm the best at killing. And you know why that works? Because Christopher Lee fucking sells it. But no, it's a plan that's born out of hubris, not out of insanity. Carl Stromberg, his plan is to chill underwater while the world is a nuclear fallout in his little underwater city, a couple miles off the coast of Italy. When I was doing research to see where the best place to live during nuclear fallout would be, there were 3 options, not surprisingly: Antarctica, the Easter Islands, and the Marshall Islands.
That's all certainly true, but that is with the benefit of modern science. That is with the benefit of modern scientific data that we have figured that out. He doesn't want to live on land. He wants to live specifically underneath the sea. He has his plan figured out. And as if the science supports it, let him have it. You know what the science doesn't support? 1v1ing a super agent to the death with exactly one gun that fires exactly one bullet. That is bad times. And your assistant is actually somebody that would profit off of you dying. This is a bad plan. Now, the business with the Sun Cannon, we agree that that's wild, but we agree in different directions, because I think that it is a ridiculous idea to just have the Sun Cannon, and either if he's going to use it himself, that's great, except people knows that he has it. If he's going to sell it, he has to announce that he has it. And the island that he has exactly like 3 people that work on it. It's an island that is actually owned by the Chinese government. The Chinese or whoever else will just storm the island, kill him, because again, he has exactly one gun with exactly one bullet. This is not even a movie that James Bond needed to be involved in, except for the fact that they needed to destroy the Sun Cannon. Scaramanga would have died no matter what.
You don't need. I'm just gonna shoot this down right now. You do not need modern scientific evidence to see that Stromberg's plan is complete insanity. To see just a little bit off the coast of Italy, where most of Europe will be in nuclear fallout. And by the way, water does not protect you from radiation, my guy.
Being so far down
see
deep, Mike.
that all these other places are way the fuck out of the way. You don't need modern scientific evidence to prove that. You just need a map. Look, with the Sun Cannon, that was contracted privately by the company. We don't even know that the Chinese government even knows about it. And Scaramanga,
but they would if he sells it.
He truly believes that he will be able to kill this super agent. He's well known in the public for being a secret agent, which means he can't be that super of an agent if he's already known. But look, Scaramanga, his plan is born out of hubris, not insanity. There is a very clear difference.
Hubris, insanity, but plausible.
Time. Okay, Jack, you get to close first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You don't need modern scientific evidence to see the flaws in Stromberg's plan. You just need a map. His plan: live in an underwater city that's a couple miles off the coast of Italy, while all of Europe is in nuclear fallout. All the world is in nuclear fallout. Way too close. Also, water does not protect you from radiation. At least Hugo Drax thought to go to space while the world was ending. Scaramanga, yeah, his plan's straightforward. Steal the Solix agitator and kill his boss and sell it, or not, maybe. Who knows? And his other plan, born out of complete hubris and just instead of insanity. He wants to kill James Bond to prove he's the best at killing, because James Bond is the only person that can equal him in killing. Stromberg, insane. Scaramanga at least knows what he's doing.
Time. Okay, we're going over to Alex. Alex, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I know it sounds silly to nuke Earth and then go live under the sea, but if he has the science and resources to work it out, it's a plan. He's not gonna just hop in the ocean and go. Presumably, he will have fallout protection. Start to finish, Carl Stromberg has the whole thing going on for himself. Scaramanga has no idea how this bad guy thing works tactically or scientifically. He's an assassin whose entire plan is gun. He can't defend it from James Bond and freaking Knick-Knack, let alone any of the world governments that he specifically wouldn't be taken by surprise, because he would have to announce that he has it when he tries to sell it. Christopher Lee, I love you, but they did you dirty by giving you the worst plan. It would be great if he were just a henchman, but unfortunately, he's the big bad wolf of this one, extra nipple included.
I was waiting to see if anyone was going to bring that up. Holy shit. Okay. Thank God. Oh my God.
I was like, I have to wait until Tim's on screen to say.
Oh my Lord. Okay, you guys ready?
Suppose.
This one was weird. This felt more like which Bond villain had the dumbest plan, and less the craziest. I went with Jack. I thought that both did it. I don't know. It was weird. I felt like the crazy part of it I was kind of missing until towards the end. I thought that Jack just did the better job of being like, here's why mine is crazy. Here's why yours actually like has a semblance of like making some sense. So that's why I went with Jack. But Brian, where are you going?
I actually thought Jack did a pretty good job of selling why his was crazy. Whereas he told, he was explaining how Alex's was more just straightforward. Alex's was definitely a bad plan. It was a dumb plan. In Alex's own closing, he referred to it as the worst plan. He didn't refer to it as the craziest, and he's right, because I think that Jack definitely had the crazier one.
Okay, Mark, your thoughts?
I did go with Alex, but maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. Like, I was at least somewhat swayed, but I feel like kind of as we were going through, and like, I can kind of piece together kind of what Jack's villain kind of wanted to do. I'm not really sure I could piece together what Scaramanga wanted to do. Like, it just kind of Like that's kind of where I landed on.
Okay. All right. Well, that means we're all tied up. So we're going to go into the bonus question. Here's how this is going to work. The players are going to get to debate a quick bonus question. I'm going to say the question, then I'm going to repeat it. After I've repeated it the second time, you guys will be able to answer the question. You will get 45 seconds and then 30 seconds for the debate. Whoever says their answer first will be going first. I randomized which side of Fanzone this would be coming from, the Fandom or the Melee. And I also randomized the remaining categories after the remaining categories from what you guys already drafted. So just remember that when I say that the randomizer does what the randomizer does. And the questions follow based on that topic. So I randomized Fandom. And the category randomized was Middle Earth. And the question is simply, who is the best Middle Earth character? Once again, who is the best Middle Earth character?
Bilbo Baggins.
Okay.
Samwise Gamgee.
Okay. The one I would have picked did not come up. Interesting. All right. I'm going to stay on screen for this, guys. Actually, I should have left you the way that you were because Alex will be going first. Alex, you are going to get 45 seconds to start your argument when you start talking.
Bilbo Baggins is the best Middle Earth character because Bilbo Baggins brings something completely something very interesting to the story, which is sheer braveness for braveness sake. He does not know these dwarves. He has spent an evening with them. He has not seen Gandalf in quite some time. And yet, despite spending just one evening with the dwarves and Gandalf, he decides that, you know what, this is worth my time. Look at my home. Look at all the things that I have here. Look at how happy I am. These people have absolutely nothing. Is it not the best thing, the best use of my time for me to go and help them reclaim the things that they have lost, to help them find a piece of home? Bilbo is, in fact, the bravest character of all of Middle Earth.
Time. Okay. Jack, 45 seconds.
Samwise Gamgee is without question the best character in the Middle Earth franchise. He goes from this just simple hobbit who gardens for the Bagginses and doesn't really have much going on in his life. He's pining after this girl that he can't get, but and he's suddenly thrust into this adventure. And the toll it takes on him, he could have turned back at any moment. He says to Frodo before they even leave the Shire, if I take one more step, this is the farthest away from home I've ever been. He goes the distance with Frodo. Even when Frodo basically says, fuck you, go home, he stays when he sees that Gollum has tricked Frodo. He stays and he saves everybody.
Time. Alex, 30 seconds.
Bilbo Baggins' journey throughout the Hobbit series and continuing into the Lord of the Rings is one of pure bravery. Frodo Baggins, Sam is a character that is defined by friendship. His friendship with Frodo is purely defining, but the fact of the matter is he wouldn't have gone that far for anyone else in the world. He and Frodo have been friends, have known each other for an entire lifetime, whereas Bilbo Baggins has only one evening with the dwarves, and he decides that to go. And not only that, but along the way, he makes friends with half the races in all of Middle Earth.
Time. Okay, Jack, 30 seconds.
If we're being totally honest here, Bilbo's not even the best character in the Hobbit trilogy. You've got Thorin, you've got Bard. They're both better than him character-wise. Sam, yes, he goes because it's Frodo, but that shows his dedication to Frodo, and he understands the task at hand. Even when he thinks Frodo is dead, he doesn't turn around and go home. He takes the ring. He goes and he's going to go and throw it into Mount Doom, and probably end up dying. He knows he'll probably end up dying. But when he realizes that Frodo is still alive, he goes to Cirith Ungol. He slaughters 3 orcs to get to him, and he saves everyone. He is the reason that Middle-earth is still there.
The randomizer does what the randomizer does, and it hurts me dearly. Okay, we're gonna move you there. We're gonna move you there. We're gonna move me there. Okay.
No matter what happens, Alex, great game.
Yeah, well done, Jack.
Bucky's so excited he just ran down here.
Also, fuck you for using my words against me in the good, the bad, and the ugly question.
I knew you'd hate that.
Ugh, this sucks, man. Fucking hell. I'm not even going to write a joke name. I'm just going to write someone's fucking name. All right. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Mark gets to go first.
Okay. Yeah. I went with Jack. I think probably of the two, probably did the better job of talking up his character, bashing Bilbo Baggins. Like, probably at least from the at least from the Hobbit franchise, will be probably better characters than Bilbo there. So yeah.
That sounds like a crazy death metal like band name, bashing Bilbo Baggins. Yeah, this sucked. I would have picked Aragorn. Nobody did that. I thought that was going to be like the one that people threw out right away. But the other 2 picks, excellent picks. Just happy no one said Frodo because he's a bitch. I went with Alex. It was really close. Sorry, Brian. This was like as 49-51 as we could get because I think both made really, really excellent points. Jack's whole argument of like Sam being like such a strong friendship for Frodo, and the fact that even after arguably Frodo says fuck you, go away. No, he says fuck you, go away. Like there's no argument. He does it. That he still comes back and like helps Frodo, like is such a big moment. And one of the best things that Sam does. But Alex surprisingly really struck a chord with me with the whole argument of Sam is only doing something for his friend that he's known his entire lifetime, and Bilbo is going out of his way for arguably no real reason other than the goodness of his heart to help people that he has no business caring about. That really worked for me. This was honestly one of those fights where like we talk a lot about like, wow, 45 seconds and 30 seconds isn't enough time to argue this, but I thought both got out a ton of points in this one. And I thought both did a really good job. But that one thing from Alex really struck a chord with me. And that's why I went with him. Brian, you get to decide this one. Who's moving on to the next match?
I agree. This is the closest one of the night. This one was tough for me to decide.
And you love these movies.
I like these movies a lot, actually. I just don't.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kirk. Kirk hates them. Okay, go on.
I don't love them like some people. I'm like, they're good. Lost my train of thought. No, this is no, it was a good debate. I think they both made a good pitch to their characters. I do think that both of them were pitching a little more who has the best character as opposed to who is the best character, like the best character of the franchise. But they both kind of did the same things. But I thought that I got you covered on the joke name. I voted for Simple Jack.
Wow.
I think that he just did a little better job of showing some of the layers of it and how he's a better character and better well-rounded and more interesting.
Okay, and that means that your winner is Jack Pinchuk. Moving on to the next match. We're going to start post-match interviews. We're going to start by talking to Alex. Alex, fantastic job tonight. I think another improvement. I think there are still some things to be worked out, but on the whole, both you and Jack have just continued to improve match after match, coming up with interesting choices and interesting arguments for those choices. That even if I think you have like a slam dunk of an answer like Freddy Krueger, you present it in a way that I wouldn't think of, which I think is awesome as a debater. So, how are you feeling about the match? And tell me, why does Jack suck?
Well, Jack sucks because he genuinely surprises you. I'm very happy for Jack. I'm very happy with my performance. It's just one of those things where, like, if the top, if a question had been swung the other way, or if I had extra time here, or if I could have gotten this point out, it's just it's a lot of that. But I lost in sudden death in like the bonus round, and the round was like split, and I think that's absolutely fine. I'm not ashamed of my performance. I'm very happy for Jack, although I am very upset that he is going to have other things on his mind as we try to do some accomplishing at the end of the year.
That's fair. That's fair. Alex, this does mean that you're out of this title picture, but I'm excited to see you come back next season. We'll see you back at the beginning of next season. Is there anybody other than Jack? I know not many other people are as horrible as him, but like, if you had to pick someone, who would you pick?
It's actually somebody who reached out to me the other day because they wanted to debate me, and I think that it would be a fantastic debate, and it would also be a pain in the ass. So I think we should definitely do it. And that is Will Cohen.
I could see that happening.
Interesting.
I could see that happening. We'll see what happens. Alex, congrats on a fantastic match and a great couple matches in a row. We will see you next season. Let's talk to Jack. Jack, I give you shit. I give you some hell, but I'm going to be completely honest. I did not expect to see you here in this position. 2 wins in a row. Your record's now positive. You're 2-1. You're moving on. I will tell you where you're going after this, but let's start here. Up against Alex, another 3-2 matchup. How are you feeling about another close call, but another win on the record?
I feel drained. This took a lot out of me because I love Alex. He's great. He's one of my best friends here. So to debate against him was exhausting. However, I will say I was debating between Sam and Aragorn that whole time, and then he took Bilbo, which didn't help narrow it down. So, but no. Also, I do not condone child abuse, in spite of what my argument in the first question may have been. Just want to put that out there. I feel fine. I feel fine enough. I'm very drained. I'm honestly shocked. I have a positive record in debate. I thought that I would never have a positive record in debate, so I'm just glad I'm here. And whatever happens next, happens.
That's fair. Well, here's what's happening next, Jack. You're actually moving on to a contender match. You get to move on to a number 1 contenders match, and you will be playing the winner of next week's matchup, which is Nazario Montenegro versus Amaru Moses. I was thinking of Amaru's name, and I said Nazaru, whatever the hell. Rue versus Nazario. You're playing one of them, Jack. Thoughts?
Oh boy, heaven help me.
Both have played for the title, by the way.
Yes. Both have played for the title. Both are excellent debaters. I am genuinely afraid of playing Rue because I feel like I would get KO'd. I'm genuinely afraid of playing Nazario because I don't know what the fuck he's gonna say. So regardless of who I'm playing, I'm probably losing, but you know what? I'll put the effort in. I will do my best, and whatever happens, happens. It would be insanity to have me and Nazario debate against each other. So I kind of rooting for that.
And I just want to ask, let's say you go up against either of those people. You are going to go up against one of them, but you win that match. Let's just say you win the contender match, and you have to go up against Cody Newberry. Your thoughts?
I pray for a quick death.
Fair. Jack, congrats on the win. We'll see you in the contender match. Let's get final thoughts. We'll start by talking to Mark. Mark, your final thoughts on this match?
Yeah, this was fun. I haven't been here as long as you two, but has there ever been a match where neither person scored a point on the categories they put up?
I feel like there's gotta be, but I can't think of the last time it happened. Definitely not this season.
I just thought that was weird that happened.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, you're totally right. That's what happened.
But no, it was so fun. It's always fun to kind of watch friends bicker, and that's what we got today.
Brian, final thoughts from you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun debate. I when I look at the answers, when they submit their answers, I see them on paper. I always kind of think in my head who I think will win. I mean, I still judge it based on the debate, but I kind of think which one based on paper. And honestly, 3 of them, I went completely the other way once I heard the debates.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see how that flips. But yeah, I thought they did a good job. I think Jack is right that he's definitely gonna be the underdog going to the next level. But I mean, he's made it this far. He's made two wins in a row, and you can surprise anybody. If I had any advice for both these players, both him and Alex, when he debates again, it's to be a little less reliant on your notes. When you're reading everything, it kind of makes you unable to kind of maybe combat stuff so much. It also messes up your time management. So like I know like that one debate, Jack has like making more points in his closing that really belonged to the main thing. But I would just say, trying to get a little bit looser with it. Don't rely so much on the notes.
Yeah, I would agree. So that's going to do it for us tonight at Fanzone Debate. I want to thank Jack. I want to thank Alex. Thank Mark and Brian. And also thank you to Kirk and Cody over in the admin chat for talking about Fanzone Debate and writing the questions for this one. So this has been a great match. We'll see you guys next time with the next one. Nazario versus who did I just say? Rue Moses. Thank you. We'll see you next week with that one. Until then, have a great night, guys. Bye.
There we go. Thank you very much. Please come again. We have a lot more groceries.